Radhe Krishna, guys. Good evening. How are you? Welcome to Hen Scale Up Journey. This is one of our series which was started last year. Then there was a pause, and we are back today. And today we are back with a very, very special session. We have with us Archana Doshi, founder Archana's Kitchen. I am sure most of you here must be using Archana's Kitchen for your daily recipes. If yes, do drop in a message. Archana will love to read your messages directly to her. So let me tell you why Archana and what's so special about her. I have known her for almost a decade now. And I cherish her even for my hen journey because I think I have a memory of her being one of the first people to say, let's do some hen meats, etc. But I've seen her blogging. So that's where she started, right? Blogging, sharing recipes with the world. From there, how she went to becoming an influencer, work with companies like Britannia. And from there, today, she's launched 3 products. These are ready to bake cake mixes. And the best part, these cake mixes do not have maida, which means they are healthy, they're easy to make, and one can experiment. And today we have with us Rachna to tell us her journey from IT corporate profile to blogging to influencing to launching Archana's ready to bake cake mixes. And with this, guys, let's welcome Archana. Hey, Archana.
Thanks, Ruchi. That
Welcome.
was an awesome introduction. So pleasure
Thank
to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for accepting our invitation and thank you for coming by to share your knowledge, your experience of building Archana's Kitchen with us.
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It feels satisfying. I'm humbled, but it always feels like day one. There is so much that I learn almost every day from my users, and with every passing year, I know I'm back to square one again. And and it really tells you that it's good to be at the tip of your feet all the time because the customers and the users make you do that.
Yeah. When you started, did you know this is what it's gonna be? What was your vision when you started?
When well Yeah, I was a software engineer before this, and I lost my job in the 2001 dot-com bust. And that was the time I had to take a back seat. I started studying, looking out for jobs. So many things. I was living in the US, and so many things happened during that time. And it was very hard to get back into the IT industry. And became a yoga teacher, certified yoga teacher, started teaching yoga in the US, and motherhood came along. That's when it struck me. I mean, I always enjoyed cooking. I was into fitness, and cooked for a lot of people, parties, in spite of me working at jobs and things like that. And so, because I had a lot of free time with me, people told me, "Why don't you write a cookbook?" And I said, and this was way back in 2007. I said, cookbook seems a little passé. I should, write everything online and share my experience on cooking. And I think the single most thought that went into my mind when I started the website was to make cooking easy for people. So, and by creating recipes that were easy to understand, where people would be able to use local ingredients and then make their own dishes, and that had been a vision that I'd written down back then. And till date, it's not changed, right? It's just got improvised and improvised and improvised over the period of many years. They say you put 10,000 years, hours of practice. I think I have close to about 35 or 40,000 hours of practice of just cooking food and writing them into recipes. And that's how much I've cooked so far. And
Wow.
and it's been a phenomenal journey of creating a blog which I had to sort of get users to watch it. But this was way back before internet was, people
Yeah.
used blog for, people used internet for searching and Googling and finding things. It was a lot of it had to do with word of mouth, sending things over email and then getting visibility, and things have changed a lot. Yeah. It's been a great journey.
I am sure it must be. And like you said, that your vision has been the same. It's just how it is. It's been improvising, you know. So the goal is same, the journey. Rasta change ho raha hai, you know, that's all. But
Absolutely.
since we were talking about blogging, Archana, let's hear this. You started blogging in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
We didn't know blogging then so much. And today it's like 360-degree.
Yeah.
So how is it? What is your understanding of blogging then versus blogging today? Like you want to give some quick two, three tips to people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that nothing much has changed in terms of, I think this technology platforms could have changed a bit, and you use different tools and websites and things, and a lot of other features that are built in into today's blogging platforms to create better websites and tools where you can interact with your users and the customers, right? So otherwise, apart from technological changes, everything remains the same. It's about consistency. It's about creating the right content, right piece of information for the user, right? At the end of the day, it's not about you expressing your feelings or you expressing that this is what I like and you should taste it. It is about what the user likes and how would they prefer it, and how are they looking at a recipe and what could be the utensil that they would be having in their kitchen. And you need to be able to think of all of those things, put that into perspective. And none of that has changed over the years. You just keep improvising about understanding your user base, what are their needs, and keep, as generations, gone through so many generations now, and I would call them every 2 years as a generation in the blogging world, I would say,
Really?
right? I mean, I would think, because and now I think it's so rampantly changing the mindsets, the with better cooking utensils and gadgets and everything. You need to adapt to those methods, various different spices, ingredients, ready-made tomato purees, and you have to bring in a lot of those different things which people have started using to make their lives easier in the kitchen. So how do you ensure that you keep moving with time and not just say, "Main purane, I will just keep making the old style. I'm
Hmm.
going to make coconut milk." I mean, you can do all of that, but you need to also keep in mind with the new generation of how they're trying to progress in their kitchen and make
Yeah.
life easier for them. Right. So,
Yeah.
and at the end of it, nothing has changed. It's about consistency. It's about using the right technology and tools to reach out to users, and ensure the third most important thing is keeping always the person whom you're writing it for. Because I'm doing it in a professional way. It's not like a storytelling blog. It is for someone else to use, and the recipe and the content. So it's very has to be specific to the end
To
user.
the user. So you're bringing this that focus on the user first.
Yeah, yeah,
Be consistent. That means continue
absolutely.
with what you're doing and make sure that
Yeah,
you're moving with time so that you know how to reach out to more users.
absolutely.
Great. At that point, so let's progress. So we've from blogging to influencer. How did that happen?
So at the end of the day, I don't shy away. I mean, I was a software engineer. I was earning a good salary in the US, right? So, and I wanted to be financially independent. And when motherhood happened and had my children, and definitely needed to know how whatever I'm doing and putting and making an investment also pays off. I mean, there is a monetary aspect to it. So how can you monetize what you're doing in ways which is beneficial for yourself, for the brand which you're working with? I'll come to that, and for the user as well, right? So, and then there's advertisements, which is the promotional ads, Google AdSense, and everything
Yeah.
which is there already. You start using them and you start monetizing. And I think influencing came much later in India for digital ads. And as and when I think internet penetration happened more and brands started believing that there is a room and space for us to use the digital platform. And the digital platform essentially is not just about ads, it's about connecting with the users online, right? It's
Yeah.
not about, it's a very engagement driven platform,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to Facebook. And you can't just put an ad and say, and then you expect the brands to sort of get
Look at you.
returns, right? So you
Yeah.
look at influencers to use them to use their products and showcase to their audience. So I was very careful. So I did initially it was all inbound when this started coming in. So there were a lot of agencies and there were a lot of brands who'd reach out and say, would you want to do this campaign? And it was very new for all of us. So we would do various different types of engagement, starting from blog posts to articles to and now it's become videos, right? And reels and stories. And as I say, you keep moving with technology. And being an influencer is very satisfying because you get to represent a brand that you like, and I am very choosy about that. I only choose brands that I trust, that I feel that my users will value, and I think that's extremely important, and which I will personally use and I can vouch for. And because that has been my standing always. I've had so many brands reach out to me, but if I know that I can't just use it anywhere and then influence my audience to use it, or I don't believe in it, like for example, there are brands who say, if you just say that this particular oil is rich in vitamin D, I said, kya bakwas? You mean to say ek chammach oil say I'll get vitamin D in my body? I'm sorry, I'm not saying those things for you. Right.
Yeah.
So things like that. I do not, if I don't believe that, I would tell the brand or the agency that, you don't do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, staying true to myself was extremely important, and the user who is using whom I'm going to be influencing, and that impact is very important.
Yeah. I so agree. And it's so important to be honest in the first place to
Yeah,
yourself and to your users. And kudos.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. We
Yeah,
know that we can trust all the products that you are telling us to use them.
absolutely.
Right?
Yes,
But
yes,
Archana, tell me this. I know that you worked with companies like Google and Britannia, right? How do you reach? So this is, you started out as blogging. You're like think of you as a woman sharing her recipes,
yeah,
and you're doing
yeah,
that, you're getting your
yeah.
people, but how do you reach these corporates? What does it take to
So
be
first,
there
first,
and
first,
to
first, I
negotiate?
think most importantly, I think it's important to have a DNA that you want to be making money and being financially independent. So once you have that, and then you say, okay, how am I going to use this platform to be financially independent? And what is it that is going to take me to ensure that I can leverage this and give back to my community as well? And so that is pretty much what you need to have at the back of your mind. And yes, I have a sales mindset. I built a lot of good relationship with brands, and and I reach out to the brands directly. In fact, a lot of the brands I've reached out on my own directly, from all the Preeti kitchen appliances and Britannia and Saffola and all of them. I've reached out to them, and many other, of course, that I worked with at a very close level. You reach out to them and they're more than happy to talk to you, and then you tell them, what is it that you can offer them, what is it that platform can offer them, and you sort of build a roadmap for them, and then your journey just moves forward. Yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting point again, because what you're saying is you are not building a business and sitting for somebody to come and give you an opportunity. You
yeah,
are building a business where you are building it. That means you are the one sitting and thinking, what is
yeah,
the next step?
yeah,
And who do I reach out to for that next step? And then just reach out no matter how big or small that particular connect is,
absolutely. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
absolutely.
what you are
You
also
can't just sit
telling,
and expect. You can't just sit
yeah,
and expect that everything's going to come to you as an influencer, but it doesn't. If you need something, you need to go and get it. Yeah,
yeah, and it is okay to write cold emails and cold messages to people seeking time, connecting with them, and exploring opportunities. What's your take on that?
absolutely. I've done that all my life. I've every single connect. There was nobody who's connected me with anybody, and
Yeah.
I have actually written to the CEOs of top companies and CEOs of top firms, and I have connections with them, and I still maintain very good relationships with all these different large brands. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I actually vouch for this myself, because that's something that I have worked on myself.
yeah,
We reach out to people, we write emails, and we just tell them, please talk to us, give us 10 minutes, give us 20 minutes. We want to explore opportunities. And that's how you build your business. So yeah,
absolutely. And people
that's
are
a
open to if they are truly interested, they're definitely open to having a conversation with you.
99 times out of 100 or 9 out of 10
Yes,
times, if we write an email to people
yes,
genuinely telling them this is what you do and this is what I do and this is where I see a collaboration, let's connect.
correct.
I think
Absolutely.
people always appreciate it,
Yeah,
because in a way we make their lives easy as well. We're solving
absolutely.
some
Yeah,
problem for them. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
So we've spoken about blogging, we've spoken about influencers, we've spoken about how to build your business. Let's
yeah.
come to your latest avatar, which was launched just a month and a half ago.
Right.
The three product mixes that you've cake
Yeah,
mixes.
yeah. Cake
Yeah,
mixes, yes.
cake mixes.
Baking mixes, and a lot of it, lots more coming up in the baking mixes category. And yeah, so we have launched three cake mixes, and it's three babies of which is vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. All of them made with, as you rightly said, no maida, absolutely, and made with whole grains and millets, and it's no artificial colors, no preservatives, and it's just goodness of all these whole grains, which you will just enjoy. A lot of work has gone into it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Nice.
just going to share one of them there.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah,
this looks pretty. Guys, I've
yeah.
been
That's
wanting
one.
to get this. I just got late in my delivery. So,
I know.
but nice to
You
see
should
you
try.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
I
then
will.
you can see a little bit of caricature of me, which is wearing that Mangal Sutra as well. There you
I
go.
saw that actually. And I like few things on this packaging, which is, how on your website I was seeing how you give, how to bake a cake on in a pressure cooker versus in an
Yeah,
oven
yeah.
versus. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to those detailings, but before that, I have some questions. And before we get into your product, I thought this is something we could take up. So, Madam SU, I'm assuming Suman, I don't know, please share your name, says Fangirl Movement. Good to see you here, Archana. When you started out, did you plan this as hobby or plan to make money out of this?
Well, at the back of my mind, Sue, I always wanted to be financially independent. There is no two ways of thinking about it. So if I had to start something, it meant that whatever I'm doing is going to help me earn my money. Right. So even if it took me a long time, it was a long journey to get where I am right now. But yes, I don't shy away from accepting that. But if at the same time I can also create an impact with the users, then why not?
So yeah, so basically, again, the
So the
learning
answer
is
is yes. The
yeah.
answer
The
is
answer
yes.
is yes. If you are starting out with a hobby, there is no harm in really having clarity of you want to make
Yeah,
money or not. And I think we must think of making money, because at the end of the day we need to support ourselves as people,
absolutely,
isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah.
So yes, on that note, so now we get into the product journey. Now tell us. So we have one question from Priyanka as well. She says, how did you decide to create a product out of your recipes? What was the journey like? And what were the major roadblocks you faced?
Um, Interesting question. I've been thinking of creating products for a long time. In fact, this journey began way back in 2000, I think, 15 or 16, where I wanted to, or I think 2015, 16, 17. And I've been thinking every other year that I should be creating products. But I think it wasn't the right time to dive in because the Excel numbers, which is, the plan sheet never added up to anything, right? So, but I think now this pandemic and a year before that is when I actually seriously started thinking about putting together my own brand of products. And so that journey began just right before the COVID pandemic in about 2019. And the pandemic actually gave me a lot of time to think through what is it going to be. I got to interact with all the customers on all my live cooking sessions, which I conducted. I got to understand what are their needs, what are their pain points, because I'm interacting with them, cooking live. They're cooking with me, or 50 odd people are cooking along with me, and I'm actually interacting with them. I have a multi-processing mind, which is actually thinking about not the questions that they're asking me, but how are they, evolving with the teachings that I'm giving them. And that got me thinking about, okay, what are the different products that I need to launch, where you know what is it people are looking for. I mean, how difficult or hard it would be for them to actually source all the ingredients to make something which they want to make, but they're unable to achieve it at home, and but they still want to make it. So that's when I decided, whatever I do, whatever products that I'm going to be launching, it has to stay true to what I believe, which is being making cooking easy, right? So essentially, you would get into your kitchen and use that product to make something, and that's how the cake mixes were evolved, and that was the journey and learnings which I had by interacting with my users. So that's pretty much the journey of how the cake mixes came about. And yeah.
So again, you brought in 2 to 3 points. So one, you said you started thinking about launching a product in the year of 2015-16, correct?
Yeah, way back. Yeah.
Way back. So it's like you kind of thinking and you're kind of, working at it. So it's not like one day you just got up and you thought, chalo, let's launch product, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
take us through the journey between 15 and 19. We learned
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you did your
yeah,
research, etc. But what
yeah.
was happening between 15 and 19?
So that product journey didn't happen then. I knew that I had to build capital, right? So I needed to put my own capital into building the products. And of course, and then I said, okay, products can come later. Let's focus on creating impact, more impact, growing our users, creating more content, creating more recipes, more videos, and keep focusing on that. And then, and also focusing on building the monetary aspect of our business. Built a team, set up a team where, we had a test kitchen. We constantly interacted. I mean, we did a lot of lives. Again, interacting with users always helps. And we constantly tested our own recipes in our kitchen. We had a team of chefs, home chefs. They are not professional chefs. They were all people like us, right? So that's the only kind of people I hired, because that's the only kind of people I believed that would be able to interact with my audience. Because only if you cook at home, you would know what the other person who's cooking at home wants.
Yeah.
So you would always think of, because at homemakers always thinking of how to serve a guest, and that's important, and it's very home food. So that's how I built my team, and we had a studio kitchen, and it was a very, very fun journey. And yeah, and now the pandemic sort of slowed all of that down, because all of us had to sit at home and work from home, and that's when products came out. And yeah, the journey to the products is a lot of learning. Yeah, yeah. And for developing products as such was um, uh, I think was at the back of my sleeve. I knew what had to be done to go into putting the products and all of those things together. I didn't need a food scientist, which most brands use. I was able to pull it together all by myself. Yeah.
Wow. Now that we're
Yeah.
talking about food, product, and recipe, and chefs and experiments, so we have a question from Rohini. She's asking, whom are you experimenting your products on? Who are your go-to people to give you the feedback? Is that your family, friends, or anyone else?
So yeah, as I said, all the testing happened during the pandemic, and of course, people have been eating my food for ages. Whatever I've been making, I've always been giving it out to people, and I hope they were giving the right raving reviews all the time. So I trusted that whatever I was making was liked by people. Second, and all the products which I've tested was completely my family and me. I just enjoy. I'm a very, very big critic of my own food, and even if somebody's not able to get what is wrong with it, I know what is wrong with it. I don't always think that. I always critique myself, and I know when I make the best, right? So I know my flavors. I'm able to break down the palette of my tongue into like various different flavors, and I yeah, I'm just good at it. But my children, my biggest testers, my youngest son is brilliant. I think he's got a little bit of my genes. But yeah, so my family pretty much. Yeah.
So again, the points you're bringing to us is you when you are scaling up, when you're launching a product, you got to think of your product from your customer's eye. You
Yeah.
got to be at it and constantly wear the sleeves of the cap of a customer versus the business person. and
Yeah,
juggle
yeah,
between the two.
absolutely.
Archana, it'll be nice to hear from you for our viewers. So remember, in our conversation, you did mention that you decided to get some products. Of course, then experiments were happening, and you were working through range of food products. And
Yeah.
then you finally boil down to cake mixes. You want to share the reason why you thought of cake mixes?
I think it's just my learnings. I felt there was an empty space in this category where people were looking to bake healthier cakes at home using millets and no maida. And of course, no sugar as well. A lot of people want no sugar, but then cakes without sugar are very difficult and very different. So they had to have sugar. But yeah, my next range of cake mixes are going to be having jaggery, but they still have sugar. Jaggery is a form of sugar. It just has a little bit more minerals than sugar. So
Mhm.
so next set of cake mixes are with sugar and dates, right? So date powder. But
Mhm.
so I think the biggest challenge for people for baking at home, they would probably bake at home a maida cake with eggs. And secondly, the second challenge was a lot of people didn't have ovens to bake at home. And then there are multiple things. No maida, then there's no oven at home. And how can I actually serve this user who was actually dying to bake a cake at home? So these are learnings, right? And then that's when I brought out a product where I would say, okay, it's going to be whole grains and millets, no maida. Had to work on it. What is it that it's going to be to give the right texture and the softness? If you see my videos, you know I actually press them and show you
Yeah.
how nice and soft it comes out without eggs,
Yeah.
because a lot of huge number of people don't eat eggs for various reasons, and of course pressure cooker method is what I brought in. So you can bake your cake in the pressure cooker, and so you don't need an oven to make it. So these are the some of the things that went into my thought process of coming out. So healthier cakes, no ovens, are some of the
No
things, and
maida.
eggless, and no
Yeah.
maida and eggless, right? So
Yeah.
these three were standing out like on the top, and I said, okay, and but they were not able to achieve it at home. So how can I make them? How can I help them? So it's hard to do it, but yes, I think we're almost there.
Wow. So let's do some candid conversation on what goes behind to create a product that looks like this outside. So you
Uh,
figured out your problem statements. Now to get through the solution, what was the process? How did you manage to get that right?
One is the recipe, of course, right? So
Hmm.
once you make the recipe, you use all the home ingredients. And then you say, okay, I need to bulk production it. And then you say, okay, for bulk production, I need suppliers who give it to me at good rates. And you need the right rates and the right quality of ingredients, the right suppliers, and to actually put everything together. Finding that in the pandemic, all on phone call, emails, everything,
Wow.
not going out anywhere. And people, it's amazing that I've learned that. I've spoken to so many people in this pandemic. I've not met a single person, not seen their face. It was only phone calls, right?
Wow.
And emails and trust. And they would just send samples just like that, right? And everything happened over WhatsApp, and it was brilliant. And the kind of business that was happening was a learning for me because it's a new journey. I've done business, but this was a different business altogether because you're dealing with manufacturing, supply chain, operations. And then the second is, of course, pricing. How do you ensure that you are giving it to at the right price and making profits and not making losses? And the third is, of course, packaging, very, very important. And figuring out the packaging, which is even more harder. The suppliers will give you raw materials to taste, and you can do that. But packaging, nobody's going to give you that, right? Because you have to first do the package design. What is it going to be? Finding out the right design company who can do it for you, and that itself was a journey because you would speak to so many people who are running brands, and they wouldn't give this information out easily. Really, I mean, everybody would say just they wouldn't give an answer if you asked them who you used. So, see, everything is like a journey that you have to learn. Google search was my best friend. I search frantically every day for raw material suppliers, packaging design guys, packaging material, the right type of food packaging material that will help better shelf life and protect the ingredients inside. You know, And of course, yeah, and then of course the logistics. Once you launch the product, shipping, you have to ensure that it reaches everybody correctly. Warehouse, storage. I don't have an office space because we closed down our office space in the studio because of the pandemic. So we're all working from home. So you need to figure out all of that: warehouse, supply chain, operations, logistics, couriers.
And
Putting up the
everything's
website
happening in the
together.
pandemic.
And everything's happening in the
During,
pandemic very, very beautifully. It just went. I cannot say I haven't had any hiccups. It's just a lot of learnings, and it's been just going very well. And a lot of learnings, and you keep learning along the way. I mean, things happen, one or two misses happen, and then you learn from that, and then you move on.
top three things you want to tell, you want to give out that you think anybody who's launching product should work on. Top three things.
Uh, Believe in it. You need to believe in what you're doing,
Yeah.
and you need to have you need to understand why you're doing it. Who is your target audience? um, uh, what are their needs? What are they looking for? And everything else, right? And everything else, of course, like I told you, will all just fall in place when you're doing it. But it's important that once you figure out the audience that you're building your products for, what are their needs? Are they going to? It's not about whether you like it. Is the audience need it? Who are the competitors? What are they doing? How are they different from you? What is your USP? Are there many people in the same space? Uh, yeah.
Yeah. So these are those regular questions that we hear, but what you're doing is reinforcing and saying that that is the only way. Actually, there's no other way. Go back
Yeah,
to your
yeah,
basics and get your basics sorted, and that's the only way to scale up.
yeah. And you have to believe in it, right? And you have to
Yeah.
sell that belief
Yeah.
and the impact. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we have a question from Neeta. She says, when you monetize a blog, there's always a fear that the advertisement distracts the viewer or reduce the quantity of reader experience. So how did you take care of that?
Um, well, I think what's most important is I'm glad that most people are used to ads in the internet world. So that's one thing. And there's ad blockers, which many people are aware of use. But as long as your content is good and you're constantly trying to give your customers and being able to deliver what they are looking for, I don't think there's too much of a distraction. I haven't faced any harsh comments. In fact, none at all over the 14 years that I've been running this.
Thank you. Now that we're talking about blogs and advertisements, so let's have you talk about what is digital marketing for you. You've been doing this forever, and now you're doing it for your products.
Yeah.
Do you have some tips and tricks to share? How do you plan marketing your product on digital scale? What's your
Well,
focus?
so the moment you start, it's the same thing. How do I ensure my vision has not changed? Whatever I do, the platforms that I engage with my users on my website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and whatever I do in these platforms always has to add some value to the user. So if I were to just say, go buy this cake mix, go buy this cake mix, it's not going to help them. So now if my next video is going to be telling you guys how can you make a strawberry velvet cupcake, and I'm going to show you how you can make a cream cheese frosting out of it, and or you can make a yogurt frosting out of it, or I can tell you how you're going to make a trifle pudding out of it. And so I'm going to tell them what are the various ways that they can use this. At the end of it, it's how are they going to, uh, use it in their kitchen and make their lives easier and better, tastier, yummier, and that's important. So at the
Also,
end of it, it's about the user. Yeah,
yeah, and also it's about building experience. So what you're
yeah,
doing is you are adding value to the cake mix by increasing the experience of giving them various frosting ideas.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. Now, Archana, there are two things that I want to come back to you on. Blogging, influencing. I know you've been running a team. It's tell us, how did your team building happen in your scale up journey? Like, you
I
started
think
as
I
one.
did touch upon this a little bit. So the teams, I have multiple forms of people who are contributing to the website. So I began with scaling up Archana's Kitchen with contributors, right? So I have to give credit to all the different contributors and bloggers who have actually written on the website. We ran contests. We got really special contributors and bloggers to write for us, specially because they're from a particular region. We did a lot of paid contributions because we wanted specialized content, like if they were Coorg or if they were from Pune or if they're from Assam or from some other place. So I built that community of contributors, and they started writing. And then I realized when I started building the community, I didn't have a team to actually manage the content that was coming in. So it was a funny journey, and I was like scrambling. I keep my content of good quality, and I grew too fast in that space, but the content had to also grow. The quality also had to grow at that pace. So I started hiring people who can edit that content. That they needed to know how they needed to be a cook themselves to edit a recipe. It is not. Um, um, it's not like an article where they can just correct the English. You need to understand the steps. You need to understand pressure cooking. You need to understand chopping. You need to understand the various different cooking techniques that are used. So I had to hire people. It was a challenge, but it was a very interesting phase of my life, and that was a learning, and I kept adding people like one at a time. The first two people I added was two of them who came in. One was a content editor, content manager, and would just edit the content, and the other was a social media person, and then who would manage my social media, and then we'd all work together, just three people. And then we kept adding one by one, and then slowly we realized that we're going to be building our own test kitchen, and everything is just going to be done in our own kitchen, because we had exhausted the recipes that can come from the contributing community. And hence we had to come up with recipes based on understanding of what the users' needs are. And so that's how we built our own test kitchen and the team.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
so that, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's
Very
interesting.
different from different. It's a very different space. I don't think many people have test kitchens in India. I think very. I was the only person probably who had test kitchens uh, with people. You have studios to shoot, but this is actually a test kitchen. We're all the time testing food and recipes and creating stuff apart from just shooting videos. So we used to have a ball of a time, lunch, snack,
Yeah, but
dinner, breakfast.
what happens in these test kitchens? What's the
So we
brief?
just cook.
What's the day?
The days we plan for the week. We buy groceries just like you do for the house, and then we figure out what is the season, what is the vegetable, what is the season, what is the mood. We work with all these different things. What is the mood like right now? What is the weather like? What is the season like? What seasonal vegetables like? What is the diet which we want to work for? Put all these different verticals together and then come together to make some stuff.
So I'm in my mind thinking, are these those places where you kind of cook, you're experimenting, and then sometimes good days good food, bad days not so good food.
Always good food. Yeah.
All right,
So nothing
that's
goes
interesting.
wasted. Yeah.
Interesting. So, guys, it is 5:38. We have last few minutes to kind of close this conversation. If there are more questions, feel free to share them. Before we progress, Archana, we've been talking about scaling up, and with women, scaling up businesses also means managing work-life balance. What's your formula of balancing work-life?
I have no clue, but yeah. Well, it's I think most important is um, keeping family involved. So we're all and keeping conversations open. Our dinner table discussions are about everybody, what everybody's doing, where it's my work or kids' school, or all of us are just generally chatting, and or my husband's work. So it's always, there's never a time when I say, okay, I'm going to shut off work and my the other life is going to start. I think because you're an entrepreneur, there's a fine line between cutting it off. It's very hard to cut it off. So you have to actually bring in that synergy into the family itself, and then let everybody know and understand that you're doing something, they're doing something. And over a period of time, you build that respect and understanding. into the family itself. And of course, it's just hard when you have small kids, and it was very hard when my children were small. But pulled it through and managed it. Now it's like they're teenage boys, and it's easy.
Yeah. So you're one of those people who say work-life balance is to merge the two. There is no difference between work and there is no difference between personal life. You just bring them together.
Bring them together. I mean, if you need help, get them to do it. I mean, I try.
I'm
Find a way
sure.
to help
No.
you.
Yeah. I'm somebody
Yeah,
who believes in that too. I think it's just about
yeah,
merging the two. There are no such
yeah.
moments that you keep the
And
work
because
off
then
and
it
now.
just life just becomes happy. Then you don't have to
Yeah.
stress that so much
Yeah.
of shoulder work, and it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
bring everybody to the same page. It's okay.
Yes. I agree. Cool. On that note, so Archana, now that you have three bake, cake mixes
It
out, what
mixes. Yeah,
cake mixes? Yeah. So what next
yeah.
from now?
So definitely launching more products is definitely on the line. Next another 2 months, 2.5 months, hopefully by before Diwali, we'll have a launch of three
Wow.
new in the baking segment,
All the
and
best.
yeah, it's already all in ready for line for all the packaging, supply chain,
Ah, okay.
material,
The
all of that.
products
It's all
are ready.
products are ready, tested, tried, eaten a lot. So you can see my cheeks glowing with butter.
That means
But
time
yeah,
for us to test the first series so that we're ready for the next.
yeah, so exactly. And then, yeah, definitely, I'm not stopping here. Creating a household name of Archana's Kitchen, of good, mixes which will help ease people in their kitchen, like lives, cooking in the kitchen easier. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's very critical. And keep it at the same time, with the ingredients that people are looking for to make
Yeah.
their lives healthier. At the same time, tasty and yummy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely love the fact in your product that it does not have maida.
yeah.
Because the first time I saw the box, I was like, okay, cake mix. But when I read through, I thought, what a job, man. No maida, number one. Number two, I like the way you've kind of given instructions on your website how to bake
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
different tools. I think great job done in that zone.
Thank you
But
so much.
thank you for sharing so candidly about your journey of building Archana's Kitchen. And before we let you go, give us top three learnings that you've had in last few years. What
Um,
would you say for a woman entrepreneur who is now putting things together for her scale up?
um, Believe in yourself, um, and be consistent, and at the same time ensure that at the back of your mind have develop that DNA to keep saying that I need to be financially independent. Yeah,
Yeah. We can't scale up without financial independence, guys.
yeah,
And to
exactly.
get financial independence, we need to believe it to achieve it. I so agree. On
Absolutely.
that
You need to
note,
have, yeah.
yeah. On that note, Archana, thank you so much for this insightful journey. My takeaways from today's conversation is one, be very close to your customer. Listen to your customer constantly. You'd never know what's coming from where. Two, when you're building your product, always look at it from your customer's hat. One conversation you made where a point you made where you said that I've been working on my Excel sheets until they started making money on Excel sheet. I think that was such an important takeaway. Whenever we're launching a product, service, or scaling up, the plan needs to get to that Excel sheet. And
Yeah,
we need to see money on the sheet before we start seeing money on the, in real life. So
correct.
yes. And the other thing you said was build your business yourself. Nobody's gonna come and give you an opportunity. You got
Yeah,
to reach out to people and create opportunities for yourself. And to do that, believe in yourself. So on that note, thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for sharing your journey and experiences.
Thanks, Shuchi. It
And
was
and the,
wonderful here, and you
yeah.
summed it up so beautifully as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And guys, Archana is one of our members, and she is also a mentor at hen.community. She's pretty much on the community. So if you are viewing this and you have any question around blogging, influencing, product marketing, launching a product, feel free to log on to hen.community, put out your question there, and Archana has promised to give her time to answer to all our queries there. So Archana, thank you for that as well.
Absolutely. Anytime. Always
Thank you.
willing to give back to the community.
Thank you so much. And see you now on hen.community. And
Absolutely.
guys, before we go, Archana's product cake mixes are available on archanaskitchen.com, and they're also available on Amazon, correct, Archana?
And Flipkart. And
And
Flipkart.
Flipkart.
And soon Big Basket next month.
Oh, wow. So, yes,
Yeah.
you can go and buy these cake mixes on archanaskitchen.com, amazon.com, flipkart.com, and Big Basket from next month.
Yeah.
See you around. We'll be back with yet another scale up journey and lots of learnings. Before I let you go, let me show you the love. People like the session. They're thanking you for being candid, for sharing. So Neeta says, wishing you all the best. You will definitely rock this as well.
Thanks, Neeta. Good to see you.
Rituparna says, thank you so much. Priyanka says, thank you so much. We have again Chanchal, who said, Archana, love how openly and honestly you share. Thank you so much. So yes, thank you so much, guys, for being around. And thank you, Archana, for sharing.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Ruchi. It was
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you soon. Take care.